because we in the SNC community we can discuss all the benefits of supramaximal eccentric strength training, but I'm not really interested in the supramaximal. I'm interested in the super fast eccentric training, strength training, and this very details were covered by Randy Huntington and one of your chats, definitely. So this elastic based pumping type of action, the benefit is the super fast eccentric piece of movement.
That was Piotr Maruszewski, and you're listening to the Just Fly Performance Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, and thanks for tuning in. This week's guest is Piotr Maruszewski, and he is one of the best speed and power coaches that you've likely never heard of. Piotr is a sprints and hurdles coach at the University of Lublin, Poland. He's a strength and conditioning coach. He's held the position of Polish athletics national team coach, and he's a current speed climbing national team coach for Poland. Piotr specializes in multi-sport speed development and has studied from some of the greatest coaching minds in the world, and he's helped athletes to incredible results along the way. On today's podcast, Piotr will speak of many aspects of speed and power training, including the nature of rhythm and hurdling and athletic movement. He'll talk about an angular approach to sprinting. He'll get into bodyweight isometric holds and talk about his approach to oscillatory isometric training. This and much more on the show today. It was awesome talking to Piotr. He's an absolutely brilliant mind. One last thing as well is in the show notes on justflysports.com, you can see an example of the oscillatory method that Piotr uses with his sprinters and athletes. It's something that's certainly helpful to visualize. So if you want to check that out and what that looks like, head to the show notes on justflysports.com. That all being said, let's get to the episode here with Piotr Maruszewski. Piotr, one of the videos you had sent me, I just thought these were really interesting, it was your daughter doing like galloping drills, rhythm drills, and doing hurdling. And I'm thinking about that more and more with my children. They're 6 and 8, and 5 months. So she's just barely crawling or getting to crawling. But what were some of the things that defined the training of your daughter over the years, and how has she progressed in hurdling? I'd be really interested to hear some of that.
Yeah. My daughter is 13 now. She's overall very fit, elastic, and still strong kind of athlete. So she shows some natural like speed talent. Maybe that's too much, but definitely she's the pretty fast kid. And my approach to kids coaching and hurdle coaching with kids is absolutely built around constraint-led approach. So what I want to build at this stage of her life, like she's 13, until the moment she might compete at some point in the future, is to really build the skill. So in the past, I was trying to rush a little bit with the speed training and with the speed development of little children or young teenagers, and I changed my approach. The time now is to build absolutely fearless hurdling, and my inspiration is the animal kingdom. Like my dog rushing, sprinting across the woods is not thinking about what he's doing or what she's doing, because I have 2 lovely pit bulls at my house. So they're not thinking what they're doing; they're just doing it. So my idea of coaching hurdling at this level is to build the skill and to make her fearless hurdling without thinking how to do it. So the galloping is absolutely the step 1 into hurdling. So I can successfully coach into hurdling anybody, and I need 15 minutes. And it's not just clearing one hurdle. I can set like a 5 or 10 hurdles, and anybody can maintain the rhythm, because the step 1 into hurdling for me is like the galloping. So you're always, basically, what is galloping? It's like, it's like a running through a cut step. And what is a cut step? Is the step that you need to clear the hurdle. So basically, to avoid any risk of missing the hurdle or hitting the hurdle with a child, is just to make them being ready to clear the hurdle. And if you gallop, you're always ready to clear the hurdle. And it's a natural way to show which will be your lead leg, which will be your trail leg, and you're always ready to hurdle. I can set the set of 10, 12 hurdles, and the distance is totally random. but she can always clear the hurdle because she's always ready to clear the hurdle. And this is my absolute number one. And what's important, I use this training modality also with the like a pro hurdlers, like, sub 13 seconds female hurdlers, because female hurdling is my specialty. I'm not that much into male hurdle. So what I want from her now, just to closing the topic, is like to be a fearless hurdler, constraint-led approach into coaching. So I'm not giving her instructions, I'm giving her task to solve. And of course, what I need to maintain is like a hip mobility, which is a lot easier with the girls. If we maintain it through puberty, then I'm fine. It's the changes around the hip mobility are easier to maintain among girls than boys. And her absolute passion at this stage of her life is dancing. So she's like a hip hop dancer. So what she's doing there, she's doing the rhythm training, and she's got natural skills for rhythm. So she's dancing, maintaining the rhythm. I'm maintaining the fearless hurdling through galloping, and that's what I need. And there will be time for speed development in the future. Also my kind of critics towards hurdling in general are the IAAF competition rules, which are crazy. When I see 16 years old girl who are supposed to, maintain a rhythm through 8-meter distance or something, that's crazy. This should really grow with the children development. So I'm going to wait until the moment that she's comfortable with 3-step hurdling. It's different than everybody does, because it isn't you go through 5 steps or 4 steps training both legs. I'm gonna wait until she's comfortable with 3-step hurdling. That's it.
Yeah, one of the reasons I chose that question for the first one is just because I think that hurdling is this intersection of athleticism that brings so many qualities together. And rhythm is one of those really critical qualities. And I think, like you said, the way that I think things are often taught, especially unfortunately to children, it's like, okay, move your arm here, move your leg here. This is how you do it. And honestly, even like I'm coaching high school track, and even in the scope of working with older athletes in the hurdles, I start with rhythm first. Like, let's do we do like the lead leg and then the trail leg drills, but I don't connect to anything. I'm like, hey, let's just do these drills, and then we just do rhythm. And if you can get that first, and then also like you just enjoy the environment, problem solving, a lot of those gaps can close themselves over time. It reminds me of Rafe Kelly showed a video of I think his son was 8 at the time, doing like a neighborhood track meet. And he ran the same speed in the hurdles as he did in the open, 50 meter dash or whatever. So he ran the same time with the hurdles because he does so much nature parkour and ninja. I feel like it's almost like this is exciting now, like, and it's just natural. And there was his last thing I'll mention here is there was a really good study. I think it was somewhere in England. I don't think it was English Premier. It might have been Scotland somewhere. I don't know the exact place, but there was a study that was showing the highest skill of defensive players later on. They tracked their training back. They tracked their hours of play. They tracked when they were first introduced to the sport. And the thing that actually determined their top skill was free play. In how many hours of free play did you have? And the way you're framing it up, it's like even different random distances of hurdles, varied distances. How can we play? How can we have rhythm? And it's just, I think that's valuable for both younger athletes, and I think it has a lot of value for older athletes, who, especially those who are just learning. So I love that you're doing that. Those videos you saw are just so cool too. I think there was like a horse involved, like too, at some point, like a little horse.
It's like you do. They call it like a mini pony or something. It's like, because I think it's like boys growing up, they want to be knights and firefighters, or you name it, and the girls, they at some point they just they have like the passion for horses, for equestrian, even though not really training. And the mini horses, it's lots of fun. And it was some point. Now she's 13, so she finds herself a little bit more serious person. But when she was like maybe 10, so I was even I was using the whole football field. I mean the soccer field, and I was throwing like the 20 plus hurdles, the different heights. and they were randomly thrown around the whole field. So it looked like a equestrian parkour. So she felt like that, and here she needed to make a left cut, right cut, change the rhythm, and sometimes a lot of like a single step hurdling also, because that happens in real full size equestrian. So I was using the passions that she had over the years. What was her interest? What was firing her up to put into our track and field training, I'd say. And you mentioned about the rhythm. I mentioned about the rhythm. You say life happens in cycles, and then we have the rhythm, we have the frequencies, and through those setups you find the comfort. Basically, when you manage the rhythm in the little kids training, it's a play more. I don't even call it a training, but when you find the rhythm of the play, they just thrive. They enjoy. Their bodies and mind just appreciate the state they are in due to maintaining some rhythm or managing the rhythm. So that's how I find it. That's why people dance. The human beings have been dancing since thousands of years. So why not?
Yeah, I was just thinking. You got me thinking too about children and imagination, and I wonder. I hadn't seen those little toy. It's like the horse. It's like the stick with the head.
Yeah,
the toy horse head on the end of it, and I hadn't seen that sport with like the jumping. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. Like these girls jumping over high hurdles with the horse. So I was like, what?
Oh, it's huge in Europe. You have like a nationals. You have like the European Championships. Like I think it's like a hobby horsing thing. So if you type in hobby horsing, it's huge in Europe. So it's quite many times where you have like the real equestrians competitions. So like the pre-event is like the hobby horsing, when you have like those 10 11 years old girls who are just clearing like hurdles like on the hobby horse, which is great for me. I'd even prefer, my sister was in pro equestrian when she was years back. So it's a risky sport. So I never meant to have my daughter doing any equestrian more serious than just hanging around and just for having some fun in the saddle. But this thing is just lovely.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned your daughter does hip hop dancing, and I just finished my first year coaching at a local high school, and one of the middle school high jumpers, she set the middle school record this past year, and I work with middle school as well there. And well, it's interesting, because she runs distance, and then her dad's the distance coach, and then she does high jump. And she still is jumping extremely high. And I know distance, you could say building the tendons and things like that in the foot, but she still has just this twitch and pop in the takeoff, and her takeoff position is really, really good. And I'm thinking to myself, what qualities emerged so that she could do these things? And then she told me, oh yeah, I grew up dancing. I did dance all the time. I did hip hop. I did tap. I did all these things. And I'm like, like that's an ingredient in this equation that's starting to make sense. Some of the speed on the approach and things like that isn't there, because I think, and that's why we're expanding her events out a little bit to like trying to get her into 300 hurdles and things like that, kind of a halfway point between distance and high jump, as well as some pentathlon things. But it's so interesting when you hear what an athlete did when they were younger, and it starts to, especially something that's rhythm and tapping, the fast feet, the fast twitch between the heel and the toe and things like that. Like that makes sense now.
Yeah, and we can even look into mature athletes. Dan Pfaff was talking about like a modern jazz type of dancing. You had Chris Corfist just recently as your guest, and you mentioned the Irish tap dancing, and it makes so much sense. And anytime music is involved, and the natural rhythm that has to follow the music rhythm, it's just pure joy for anyone. For anybody loves to dance, and when this gives you also like a high quality training, so I think that's the best way that can happen to a child. And the only thing that I'm trying to take care of is just taking shoes off whenever it's possible. So I know when she's in a class, it's like the hip hop styles, culture, the clothes and the hoods and loose outfit, I understand. I cannot interfere because, she's in the group there and there's a whole culture around. I absolutely respect that. But whenever she's training at home and she do it all the time, I just, hey, take your shoes off and I'm fine with that. Then dance as long as you wish. So then we have all worlds combined in one.
Yeah, it's that process of development is certainly something that I think we just look at we look at the end, we look at the branches of the tree versus everything else that makes that up. Yep. And so that leads me to, I know you've had a lot of, influences, mentors, people that have influenced where you've landed now. I think we even talked a little bit before we pushed record. You said you're an integrator, and I feel like I am in many ways as well, like someone who takes ideas and then I guess we all are, maybe versus people who just have an idea that's out of nowhere. Oh, what is this? And this totally new way of thinking. But I'm really curious of who some of the strong influences that you've had that have formulated the way that you look at training.
Joe, the tipping point of my way of having a chance to be influenced by a great mind was meeting you. And we were just trying to recall, was it 2015 or 2016 plus minus? That was one of the earliest track football consortium run by Chris and Tony in Chicago, where we met in person. You and me, I had a chance and a pleasure to be in the audience where you presented your idea. And after that, I approached you and asked you about this guy from San Francisco area, Woodland back then. That there's the genius around you, and I know you have some connections. Just can you explain something about him? And I was asking about Adrian Barr at that point, and you said no. Just don't try to find a middleman. Just sit on a plane and just go visit, and you need your own experience, and that's what I did. And absolutely, the tipping point of me building my experience of being influenced kind of thing. And so definitely a Darian Ban. Then I had the pleasure to meet Randy Huntington in person. So that was I was following his work for many years, since it's late 80s. And there was 2019. I was in there was the World Championships in Doha, Qatar. So, and the funny thing is that the World Championships in Doha, they were not covered by any TV in Doha, which for I don't know reason that I think that there could have been some the female body exposure, things like that, which couldn't have been presented on TV. Anyways, there was the championships itself. That was an absolutely great event, but we were not spending the whole day long in the stadium. So I was lucky that the Polish national team and I think the Canadians and the back then China was based in one hotel. And at the lobby of our hotel, there was a Starbucks. So where everybody was spending the whole days because there was, a good coffee and good air condition. And at some point, I'm watching some Polish television coverage of the games that is happening, across the block. And there's this guy sitting, hey, can I join you? Because there's a female high jump and you have the TV coverage on your iPad. And can I join you with the coffee? I'm looking up and there's Randy Huntington, and that's, oh God. Thank God I had my iPad with me. So definitely Randy's work, who you explored into very details over a number of chats with him, definitely. So it was a short direct work with him. I could have some discussions back then. Definitely Jerome Simeon. That was also a very important person for me. We were in touch somehow, and again, 2019 Doha was like a important moment for me to be there. And Jerome Simeon was like a link between the. He's one of the person who really explored deeply into Jay Schroeder work. And obviously, there's Chris Corfis, who I visited him a number of times. So his famous basement trend facility at his house. That's one in a lifetime experience, really, to spend some time. I enjoyed a lot. So I try a couple times. I went to the event, Track Football Consortium, and then I usually spent like a week or two either spending with Tony Holler at his I'm not sure if he's still active or he retired as a chemistry coach. But anyway, he so I spent like a week or two with Tony at his high school, and every evening with Chris Corfis at his basement. So, and we're in touch since. So over the years we're in touch. And definitely there was some coaches who helped me a lot. There was also Vince Anderson, especially on the hurling and the rhythm, like the hurling rhythm between the hurdles was like we were in touch, and there were really interesting conversation we had over the years, and he opened my mind into specifically, to train the rhythm in between hurdles, Vince Anderson, and last but not least, absolutely Alex Notera, so I'm sure we'll touch this into little details a bit further, but definitely Alex at some point of my coaching development was a very important person. I mentioned Jay Schroeder. I never had a chance to really get into close from those who I never had a chance to meet since they passed away before I even try. Absolutely Charlie Francis, his approach and into sprint training and the yearly programming, huge influence over from his work. And there's also one coach I want to mention. There's been a genius coach living in Poland. He passed away, like I think 2010 or something like that. Before I even get into hurdling coaching at 11 was Tadeusz Szczepański. He was the guy who in the early 80s, Poland female hurling was absolutely like a powerhouse. There was the Polish female hurlers were setting world records in the early 80s, and he was like a decades ahead of his times. So I was able to get into. It was not easy because almost nothing is being published online since he passed away before the Google, YouTube and stuff like that. He didn't publish too much real research. So I was spending hours. The old school, I'm 50 years old, so it was for me it was normal. So I had to spend hours in the libraries. I was actually traveling across Poland because there was one university in one city who I checked. They had like a one article written by him. Then I traveled across the country to another city and so on. So I was able to get in touch with his widow, and she showed me his PhD on that never been published because he passed away just before he was able to publish and to really go into details. And I was able to explore his notes, his like first kind, training journals and stuff like that. But I never met this guy in person. But absolutely my approach to elite level hurdling, it's got nothing to do with what we discussed at the beginning about my daughter, but elite level hurdling, absolutely. So there was the genius guy who unfortunately passed away too early, like Charlie Francis, by the way, same story. So those would be the guys, and maybe the John Godwin, but we get into it.
Yeah, for sure. So looking at, you've had so many mentors and collected from so many different coaches and systems. I think a good place to start is Adarian Barr's work. And just because I think so many of his ideas run, or are seemingly, I guess, run counter to a lot of what is coached. And I'm curious of some of the main things that you took from him that you integrate with your athletes, and your lens of how to introduce it to them, how to for them to experience it.
Yeah, the introduction part, it's key, because at the end of the end, I'm not just philosopher. I'm not a researcher. I'm my daily job is coaching. So I need to find a way how to coach 17 years old dude or 20 something years old. That it must be simple for them to really appreciate that. But the simplifying what I mentioned, I started with Adarian. Like he was like the things flipped in my brain a lot, and I'm happy that I kind of started my journey with Adarian, and then looking into other great coaches was already through Adarian's perspective, which I think is the best I could gain through. So absolutely, Adarian made me understand levers. That's probably no surprise to you, but he made me understand how levers work in human body. Not only in sprinting, but definitely the levers is something that the nature create, or the creator created for us to make our life easier. Simple as that. So whenever I'm looking at the human body in motion, I'm always looking through levers perspective, and it doesn't matter if it's sprinting, if it's hurdling, if it's soccer playing, speed training, or just his motion across the field, or is it like a speed climbing that I'm also involved at the elite level, Olympic level. So I'm looking at the motion through levers. So that was the one big thing. We don't need to go into very details. I think if I can provide a value to whoever is going to listen to our conversation, explore levers and their role in human body's motion. So that would be number one, and step two, exploring Adarian's approach to now a little bit more into sprinting, would be I moved away from horizontal versus vertical force application. Okay, I moved away from the spring model into angular momentum. Your body is not aware if what's the angle of force application. If it's vertical, it's horizontal. Where is the drive phase? Where things change from horizontal into vertical? So your body is not aware of that, but your body is aware of angular momentum, and that's the real engine that we have. So what's the after understanding levers in human body, I'm looking into where the engine is, and the engine is angular momentum that you can create. So it's not easy to cover into much details when this is an audio recording, not the clinic or training session or video. But if I'm to point two most important things I learned from Adarian would be those two, and of course the squatted running, and then the shin angles change over the steps, etc. This would be the consequences of me looking at the human body in motion through levers, and specifically in sprinting through angular momentum being the main driver of what's actually happening on the track. Because after you made your limb hit the ground already, there's not much you can do any further. So the magic happened before you actually hit the ground. So that's why the angular momentum is so important for me to looking at the sprinter's motion.
Yeah, I think with something like with Adarian's teachings and the idea of a squatted run, I think that there's like a lot of people would look at that only through the window of like vertical force and force production. Like that's, and it's interesting to think about why that is the dominant way people look at sprinting. It's like that is the holy grail as how people look at it. But squatted running works, in my opinion, because of angular momentum, and people feel it because of angular momentum. You were, before we got on the call, you were mentioning a little bit about how you help athletes to feel that. I'm really curious for you to explain a little bit more about that anecdote.
Oh, absolutely. I think I can be brave enough to mention. I think I'm the only coach in Poland who's actually exploring the squatted run, because I haven't seen. If I'm wrong, then of course apologize. But the squatted run actually allows the athlete to explore both, and the what's how to feel the angular momentum they can create, and what's going on in terms of levers. And I'll step back to the forces, okay, to applying forces. Sure, we are applying the forces, but what levers gives you? Gives you a chance to utilize the force with the easiest way possible. So if you understand levers, then makes your life simply easier. And the way I use squatted run, which is absolutely one of the number one drills for me, which, to be very honest, I'm absolutely extremely limited on the drills that I apply. So I always do a squatted run that always bleeds into relaxed sprinting. So this is not like a base for like a top end speed training. So it's just for the feeling. So when I hold the athlete to run fast, to sprint fairly fast in a squatted position over 30, 40 meters, and then I want him to gradually bleed into sprint over the next 10, 15 meters, then he appreciates the benefits of this kind of tough at the beginning position, but after the comments from athletes I get, they feel like they've been released from a leash. So when I walk with my dog, I have like small muscular sprinters type dogs. Like I'm a happy owner of two pit bulls. So when I walk my dog and he's trying to release from the leash, and I'm not making this happen. So basically, he's walking in a squatted position. The moment I release the leash, when there's of course a safety environment to do that, then from the squatted position, he's gradually getting into top end position. Of course, in his world. But this exact comment I'm getting from my sprinters. They're feeling like being released from the leash, and we do it all year round.
Yeah, that's one of those things too, where so much of coaching, just like back to the hurdling, a lot of things that are in the air, if an athlete's in the air and they don't have a lot of sensory feedback necessarily outside of whatever internal timing they've learned to recognize in their body, they might start to become reliant on a coach. And I feel like so often sprinting, it's like it's in the air and the coach says, put your knee and arm here and focus on this. And it's not something they really feel. But when you squat down a little bit and you have a little bit of a prolonged contact time, which again, you're going to get out of it and sprint normally, like you said, it's a bleed. It's a sensory experience into how did you use that extra sensation? How did you use the large angular sweep? It gives more, the same way I think we talk about, well, hey, an athlete isn't sensing enough in the squatting, so I'll put him on the ground. I give more points of contact. It's this thing that allows those it allows more gathering feelings of angular motion, and then they can use it. And it's so much more clean than, well, hey, just go do these things in the air. Of course you should be able to do these things in the air. It's very, it just allows athletes to do that and recognize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when there's right now when we're recording, there's there are two huge sporting events going on this summer in Europe. Now there's European soccer championships held in Germany, and there's the Summer Olympic Games in Paris in about a month. So I'm watching, because the every TV coverage is now about the Euros, the soccer Euros. So, and I'm watching that thanks to super high quality TV coverage, now we can really look at the real close up and slowdowns, and the drones flying above the players, etc. So if you really want to explore and see and witness, I witnessed the fastest soccer players. They're absolutely squatted runners, and it's got nothing to do to making soccer players running wickets or wall drills. No, just let them be a squatted runner. Don't try to change it. And the fastest soccer players on the field, like the position, like the wings or those who cover like 40, 50 plus meters, which is not that common in soccer. But when they do that, you can really see how their bodies are resolving the task, which is being fast on the field, on a soft field.
Yeah, it's problem solving. It's a good athlete will find a way to problem solve. And I think that we can learn a lot from watching that versus assuming all athletes should run like a track sprinter on a track surface straight ahead with no perturbations or interruptions or anything like that.
Yeah, but to be even honest, like I have this idea that I'm trying to, spread across Poland here in our training community, like a coaches community, SNC coaches and football coaches, that when you look into like a bread and butter, there's a lot less difference between the sprinter on the track and the fast soccer players on the field. The difference is the forces between the shoe, the foot, and the track. That's obvious because we have like a synthetic track versus soft turf, grass, whatever the field itself. So, but when you look at where's the optimum of the body, we're back into levers and we're back into angular momentum. So it's got nothing to do about high knees or force application if it's more horizontal or more vertical.
Yeah, I think that there's a huge amount of difference between sprinting on turf versus sprinting on a bouncing track surface. And even I think people would look at squatted running too and think of it more on the level of, I'm not even sure, almost as if it's something that's going to cause you to pull your hamstring or not bounce very well or something like that. But in reality, you watch these athletes, soccer players especially, running with a slightly squatted center of mass. The timing is, I think, what ties it together, because the limbs and the way everything's being timed up is so good. And I think if you told a track athlete who's used to doing track to run squatted and the timing was off, well, yeah, that would be a bad thing. But naturally, our timing is good and it's on and it's adapting to our environment. And it's almost like back to even the this is why I like leading with the hurdling and the rhythm piece, because like if the rhythm's there and the timing's there, and you're adapting to a problem like variable hurdles or players or things to deal with, the end result's going to be pretty natural. And it's going to be something that is, just again, you adapting to your environment. And that's why I've said it before, but it intrigues me watching people warm like soccer players up with all the high knees and hands overhead and all that stuff. And then they'll go from that and the players will just start playing and then everything just changes instantly. Low knees and squatted. And it's like
Absolutely to the point. And now you just also you made me now think about something. The moment I introduce into my sprinters or whoever new sprinter join my group, my level is like just to give an overview. Like my fastest 100 meters like the 10:20s. Over 100 meters, like my fastest 60-meter indoor sprinter, like the 660, which is like a European high level sprinting already, and like the 2040s over 200 meters. So whenever I introduce this squatted running into my group, I have introduced in the past, or I introduce into a new sprinter that joins my group, then the timing is off in the beginning quite often. But once they gradually get into the right timing, what you have just pointed out, into squatted running, then the timing, they are able to maintain the timing over the whole distance. When they bleed into sprinting and continue and maintain, that's a great timing. That's a great timing tool. You just opened my eyes into what I do, but I never thought of that like that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate the anecdote and the thoughts from your end of things. I was thinking just about Bobby White was on the podcast, basketball coach and sports performance, and he talks a lot about pushing athletes to the edge of their ability. And even with like Chris Korfist, his edge of the ability is often a very coordination demand. It's not like just force. There's a lot of coordinative demand to push to that edge. And I think once you take, I guess you could call it taking the red pill of timing and levers. But once you get to that place of timing, it's like, well, now how do I challenge your timing now? How do I have a workout that challenges that? And it's not like, okay, we'll just do this and keep your limbs in this position type thing. And I find when you can challenge timing, you can almost change from the inside out in a way. Like everything else will follow suit. Your fast twitch and your nervous system, everything. Like athletes love that because it's kind of like dance speed challenge, and we're wired for it.
And that's what dynamic systems do. And we're not complicated system, which would be a car or like a any product of engineers. We are dynamic systems and we adapt. So this is what we're capable of doing. That's why bipedal robot would not benefit anything from squatted run if it's not been programmed in advance by the designer/engineer.
Yeah, I think that isn't the title for that. It's like complicated. Like a car would be complicated, but we are complex, right?
Yes. That's the difference. So the in complicated system, everything has been designed. The only combination of parts getting into relation, everything has to be pre-programmed. It's like a product of there's a blueprint for any motion that's possible. If anything in the car goes out of the blueprint, it breaks simply. Versus complex systems like we adapt.
And that changes everything. And it really expands the number of things that ingredients or the factors we can look at, which makes coaching a lot of fun too.
Oh, yes. It does.
You mentioned, Peter, Jerome Simeon, spending time with him, and of course, Jay Schrader. And the question I always ask, or that comes to my mind with those types of things is, all right, 5-minute lunge, 5-minute iso lunge, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, lunge with electrical stimulation on, like where have you landed?
I tried those. I tried them all. I tried them all with, electrodes on my glutes, on my hamstring, on my everything. So I have this, but I think like a slightly above 3 minutes was all I was capable of doing. But this type of like a fairly pure Jay Schrader stuff. This is what I do first thing in the fall. One of the things that I really pay attention to is long vacations for my sprinters. So we are just done with the nationals 2 weeks ago, where I had fairly the whole bunch of medals and final positions. So this week we still have under 23 nationals. This is the equivalent in Europe. It doesn't really exist in the US because there's the European idea of the nationals and the pan-European track events in the under 23 category, but it's a pure equivalent of NCAA because but when you plus minus look at the athlete's age, so there's under 23 category. So this week I'm having the under 23 nationals, and from that point it's like 2.5 until 3 months of complete vacations for my sprinters. And I'm happy when we finish the season with the personal best and the healthy, no injuries, no nothing. So that's the moment we know step off the stage in the peak performance state. So that's always very important for me to stop the season when the body is it's a peak shape, then long vacations, but then when we pick up in the fall, the body kind of knows where we are heading to the peak performance that we were in, the peak shape that we are in 3 months ago. And getting back to Jay Schrader, because that was your question, the maybe 2 up to 3 weeks of breaking those summer vacation mood and habits, we going extremely through Jay Schrader's ideas. So we go through the longest ISO, long duration ISOs we can maintain. It's lots of fun, especially with the guys. We're in a group. We challenge each other. So I have this one crazy guy, my strongest 60 meter, who is like nobody can beat him in long duration ISOs. So like 3.5, 4 minutes, he can easily do it. But the thing that really grinds us down into the extreme are the super slows. Super slows is really something we have a lot of fun. But how I look at those, it's maybe not necessarily the pure sprint capabilities that I'm trying to develop over those, let's say, 2 weeks of extreme ISOs, extreme long duration ISOs, and combined with huge volume of easy rebounds, with those the throwing and catching and those super slows, everything from Jay Schrader's system, quite often combined with the neuroelectrical stimulation. RSQ1 is the European system that kind of follows the step of ARPWay. So for me, it's like we are grinding and rebuilding the tissues. That's how I see it, and that's the idea. So we were able to, over those period of time, my goal is like the plasticity of the tissues. So if there's anything in the body that needs to be, some scar tissue or anything like that, anything that needs to be cleared off, this is the beginning of our training, fall training, just getting your tissues into the extreme. So if there are any weak points, we clear them out. That's the idea behind. I can't tell you, probably nobody can tell you what's actually going on and what's actually where the magic is behind the 5 minutes 5 minutes iso lunge, but this is how I look into it, and this is how I incorporated this into my system, because I can only say what is the place for this particular modality in my system. So that's how I use it. And then, of course, gradually we move away from such an extreme approach, because in high level sprint training, you need to find the right amount of everything, and too much of something would not be the right approach further on.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Gym Studio. Gym Studio is a frictionless gym and studio management software. It can effortlessly manage memberships, schedule classes, track attendance, and even automate billing. To check out what Gym Studio can do for you, head to gymstudio.com and set up your free 14-day trial in less than 5 minutes. Today's podcast is sponsored by my favorite jump testing and training device, the Plyomat. If you want a jump mat that can not only get standard counter movement jumps and reactive jumps, but also is something you can put into your standard plyometric training, such as hurdle hops and bounds, to gather not only height, but reactive strength, contact time, and add that extra dynamic to your total training session, then check out the Plyomat, and you can head to plyomat.net. That's plyomat.net to learn more. Yeah, it's interesting that you said the 60-meter sprinter who was the one who would do the best at the long holds, because I think in some ways that the first thought I'm sure a lot of people would have would be, well, isn't that a fast twitch person and it's slow twitch? But it's like, well, if it's he's a muscular person and competitive and intense. It's so interesting to me how I think the mental wirings of some people can really work its way into those types of things.
Yeah, I think also, his engine is the muscle. He's the wide.
The wide ISA type. Yeah.
He's the one. So the muscle is his engine. So I think that's for the reason he thrives on that. So he thrives on the any form of electrical stimulation. He thrives on super long duration ISOs. So strong muscle stimulation is his driver. So probably for that reason, I mean, in this short extreme stuff from Jay Schroeder, he thrives. But then over the season, with the narrow ISO type dudes, I'm looking a lot more into elasticity driven strength training, and in his case, it's a lot more strong, concentric, old school engine. Of course, I do it. I try to do it in a smart way. I'm a huge proponent and a huge fan of Kaiser. So one of the, after the couple coffee spent I had spent with Randy Huntington 2019 Doha, I mentioned, and the Starbucks at our hotel lobby. So a few months later, I already had Kaiser squat machine at my gym, because I run my own gym, which is like a very specific place, slightly inspired by Chris Corfist. So he's the concentric contraction type of dude, and he's super strong, super dynamic, and his dream always was to beat the Subintan results in Kaiser, and he does it. As far as I could explore Subintan results, it is over the short YouTube videos or something. So sometimes we try to just replicate the Subintan execution on Kaiser, and my dude is stronger. So that's the thing. And versus the narrow type guys, where I'm looking a lot more oscillatory isometrics type of training, and which we do with the bar on the back mostly. I sent you like a couple months ago, fairly crazy video. Mm-hmm. We can explore this further in a moment, and also Kaiser machine. So I'm finding those very short oscillatory motions and being under Kaiser squat. The compressed air. It's absolutely like a cornerstone of my strength training programming through whatever population I'm working with: soccer players, female handball players, speed climbers, and of course my sprinters and hurdlers. So if there's one piece of equipment that I couldn't live with, it would definitely be the Kaiser squat machine. So here on that, on the same side as Randy Huntington is.
Yeah. So let's dig into that just a little bit more. And so you mentioned for a more muscular or a wide ISA type, they're doing more typical squat jumps on the Kaiser machine versus a narrow is going to be do a lot more, relatively more oscillatory reps, like quick up and downs. And
Yes,
what range too, like a
yes,
half or a full, quarter squat,
yeah,
those types of things.
Yeah, I with the Kaiser squat, I cannot remove any of those completely from anybody. So the narrow guys still have to do some, some powerhouse concentric motion through hip extension, simple. And the guy who thrives on, if there's a world championships where you sprint over 60 meters with a heavy sled behind you, I'd put all my money on this guy, So last week, just an anecdote, and I'll get back to your question. Just an anecdote, like 2 weeks ago, we had the nationals, and there was a horrible, like 6 meters headwind. A disaster for 100 meters final. And this dude thrived. So he was able to push himself against the strong wind. He took finally fourth place in the slightly missing. There were thousands of seconds. He missed the bronze medal, and he was like a 900 of a second to the first place. But he was able to thrive against really strong headwind. So getting into the like with the Kaiser gives you tons of options. You can do the very elastic motions where there's a tons of very fast eccentrics involved. Because we in the SNC community we can discuss the all the benefits of supramaximal eccentric strength training, but I'm not really interested in the supramaximal. I'm interested in the super fast eccentric training, strength training, and this I very details were covered by Randy Huntington and one of your chats definitely. So this elastic based pumping type of action, the benefit is the super fast eccentric piece of movement. What's the world where my super strong 60-meter dude thrives is the thing that Kaiser squat the pads. Yeah. Let's make the pads. So I said that at the certain level, it's important for me what this particular strength training is being applied into. Like, let's say we did if the goal of the sprint training was the blocks, then we are in the knee angles kind of closer to like first 2-3 steps clearing the blocks. So then I set the pads at the certain level, and then the athlete is moving his body like a couple centimeters below, and he's hitting as fast as he can and as strongly as he can, and only doing the pure eccentric, pure concentric motion then. So it's like I call it Kaiser hits, just in my terminology. So when I program, those are the Kaiser hits. And this is like where my 60-meter guy is like stronger than the Subintan. Maybe Randy, when he hears that, will have another opinion on that. But then he's absolutely beast. So this is where he thrives. While the more narrow type of guys, they thrive in those like a compulsatory type of motions, short up and down, and they are super strong in the short / fast eccentrics, because then there's a lot more elasticity, elastic components involved. And also those guys thrive on those oscillatory isometrics, which I do with the regular bar on their back, which I send you, I believe, couple months or something, some ago. And my approach to those oscillatory isometrics also, I heard the term I had number of times in through your conversation with your guest, but my approach is slightly different to like Cal Deeds or Chris Corfist's approach. I can explore this further. So
Yeah.
the idea is that, you know, that the traditional, more maybe not traditional, because this is not very traditional type of exercise at all. But I'd say the beginning of oscillatory isometrics that I heard from Caldiz or Chris Corfist or you name it, was that like you're getting into the position that you want to train, and you're making like, you know, short, you know, small a short range of motion up and down movement, and you're moving with the bars, and everything was about, you know, contraction and relaxation and timing. Again, we're back into timing. Everything is about cycles, frequencies, and timing. So, and you're looking at the perfect timing where you can really find your rhythm with the bar. My approach is slightly different. But I am able to apply this to really my elite guys. So you need to a very high quality bar. It must be like the competition. This cannot be an, you know, CrossFit or powerlifting, you know, stiff bar. You need very elastic, certified weightlifting bar, like a Lake or Rock or really top brand bar. You need to put like a really heavy load on the bar, because otherwise the exercise won't happen. So let's say it's like a 140, 160 kilograms on the back of the athlete. The position is like the not even a quarter squat. It's slightly bent in the knees. All right. So heels off the ground, of course, because we're looking the to maintain the rigidity of the ankle itself. And the goal of the athlete is, after he's doing like the it's not even a mini squat. It's just like finding his task is to make the wheels on the side of the bar to move up and down at the highest altitude possible. But the goal of the athlete is almost not to move. So the center of gravity of the athlete is moving like maybe 2-3 centimeters up and down. By through contraction, contracting and relaxing the muscle, he's able to find the perfect rhythm to combine his body motion and the elasticity of the bar into a perfect frequency of the motion. So when he finds the rhythm, then he can go 10, 20, 15 times. It doesn't really matter. It looks effortless. And imagine he's holding like 160 kilograms on his back, and he's making the side of the bar like they are winging up and down. So when you see the Olympic Games, the weightlifters, they use it when they're standing up from the snatch. They're using the elasticity of the bar, of course. So I'm multiplying the elasticity of the bar over the period of time, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or even longer. And the goal is just to make the bar bouncing, kind of thing. That there's even one of my inspiration was that there are like the fitness sticks that I found at some point. Like we talking like the fitness type of training doesn't have much to do with the type of training, the environment I'm in. But those are the sticks that you hold in your it's like a bamboo type of,
like a body blade, I think is what it's
body blade, something like that. And your goal is just to find the perfect vibration and to match your body's vibration into the stick, the body blade vibration. So this is exactly what I'm doing with the super heavy bar on the back. And the narrow guys thrive, and they love it, and it works.
Yeah, I like that. The best things or the best movements, I think, are found from the ideas in nature. Like even plyometrics, the idea of you see someone go dunk a basketball, then come down and land on one foot and kind of bounce out of it. You know, like the plyometric that's built into the game itself. Or that what you mentioned, like watching Olympic lifters, and they use those oscillations to help them. And it's even too, I guess you could say nature itself. You could have like a gorilla shaking a tree really fast, explosively to get, some coconuts to fall, or I don't know, whatever it is, whatever reason they might want to do it. But we
back to timing and vibration again.
Yeah, to shake the tree, you have to have that
Yes.
oscillation
Yes.
there's a skill to it. And I think that's just the missing piece that no one talks about, is that skill of managing those vibrations, managing those oscillations. And with what you're doing, I think that is the one thing. I've programmed a lot of oscillatory movements. The one thing about it that is not perfect, like I think in everything, there's a level of things that are good and the level of things that are a little imperfect, the rough around the edgesness of any intervention that isn't totally pure. Like, I guess that isn't actual running or jumping or throwing or the actual sport. But the one thing that's a little weird with the oscillatory stuff is it feels a little forced, if that makes sense. You're doing a thing that is helpful, but there's not necessarily a task that's guiding you. There's not a constraint. It's missing a constraint. And what you're doing is adding a constraint basically to something that's already good and just making it more, tuning it even more. I think I'm in my basement here and I have one of those like tsunami bars. And that's the thing I've been messing with it for, is that like giving you a constraint to oscillate to.
Yeah, the task. So then I don't have tsunami, but I had a chance to explore it. So the task would be make the regular bar behaving as a tsunami bar.
Yeah,
and that's the task you're supposed to solve. And the moment the athlete, when he starts the motion, he's moving deeper, and the moment he finds the timing and the rhythm with the bar, then the athlete's motion is like maybe 1 inch up and down or even less, but the bar is really bouncing up and down like several centimeters on each side, again with 160 kilograms on the load.
Yeah. And it is, it kind of makes me think. I feel like you had said something about this in an email exchange with the idea of like, how do we progress? And you had said something about Kaisers and trying to have athletes get the same wattage or output later in the season using lighter loads as they were able to get earlier using heavier loads. And
absolutely. Yes. And that's absolutely, like I said, like whoever running community I train with, and I have a chance to progress over like some period of time, like a season, like preparatory period or something. So I let them set their personal best, where I allowed a little bit more load on the Kaiser, and still number one driver must be the speed of motion. So sometimes when I program strength training for my running athletes, we don't even need to we don't even have to spread into sprinters or soccer players or handball, whatever. I only coach running athletes. Even the speed climbers, they're still running athletes, but it's just the vertical. So the way I coach the way I program the resistance, it's always speed of motion is always my absolutely number. I never compromise the speed of motion. So, but still in the full time, I let them set some records, some their personal best, where I allow a little bit more air pumped into the Kaiser system. And when we progress towards the spring season and summer season, then I limit like 30% down with the weight. But hey, those were your personal bests you said in December or wherever, January. Okay, now this is your personal best. So now I want you to prove me that you can do it the same, but now the load is 30% less, and then we're moving purely toward the speed of motion only. So definitely that's the progression through one of the progressions I use Kaiser for.
Yeah, I was just thinking, along the lines of the oscillatory, I was just thinking about how would you progress something like that, in the sense of if you could start with a tsunami bar that's extremely easy to get to go up and down, and then every couple of weeks it would be too difficult, I think, from an equipment perspective. But I was thinking about that.
And that's not for everyone, because to really make this happen, you need to. I found that like below 130 kilograms, the bar won't behave the way I want it. So it's definitely not for. I don't do it with my 19 years old female hurdlers. No, that's for my strong dudes. For sprinters, it's not for everybody. But once they reach the level, they enjoy it. This is like. They really do, and it helps.
Yeah, there's something too, I think, about training exercises that only a certain group can access because it makes you feel like good that you got to it. Oh, I get to do this. That's going to be so awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts on everyone that, that broke the internet? No, not really, but like the Karsten Warholm when he's got 400 kilos and bouncing it up and down, like it's oscillatory, right? Like it's interesting. That's definitely a version of it. It's just a little different.
We looked into very details. I had like I hope it's not, I'm not revealing and going into much privacy, but I had a conversation with Ralph Oman. Those are the Nordics coaches community. Ralph Oman, he was the SNC coach for in Randy Huntington group in China for many years now. He's back in Europe / Australia. So I think that was, I spoke either with him or another coach from somewhere from Nordic. So anyway, the answer I got that because we tried to really find out what's really going on. And the answer I got from one of the Nordic coaches was that the Karsten Warholm coach, sometimes he's doing some stuff just to show to the world some totally crazy approach, even though this is just a show off, not necessarily like a deep thought into it. I have no idea if that's the case with this crazy, trap bar hitting the bouncy mats on the side. If that's the case, but I know that I know from first-hand coaches, Nordic coaches, that they do some crazy stuff just for the sake doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, I could see that.
But don't quote me on that because I haven't chance to really ask direct question. Maybe in a month I'll be in the Olympics when maybe I'll be lucky maybe to have a coffee with him at the hotel lobby like I had with Randy Huntington years back. Then I'll ask.
Yeah, for sure. Can get some more clarification at that point. I think either way, it's certainly a very extreme training regimen, like from top to bottom. Yeah. So it does remind me too. I think about like the Russians when the story goes when the depth jumps first came out, they tricked the Americans by saying it was 9 feet or just things that are interesting like that. Yeah. So I did.
They don't do it. They don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
They don't do it anymore. And Poland was under like with the Eastern Bloc and everything. Nobody did it. 4 meters or 9 feet. The depth jumps. People would die.
Yeah, the only people I've seen do anything like that is I've seen a few, like there was that Japanese high jumper. It was in a research study. I think it was like a 6 or 7 foot depth jump or something like that. But I think it was just to find out. I don't think they actually do that. But the thing is all the Japanese athletes I've seen, that if you want to talk like high reactive strength index, super bouncy, that group, like I really enjoy watching, it's like the world with Instagram now. You see all these training videos from Japanese groups and it's all extremely springy. More so I think even than a lot of other cultures and countries. So it makes sense like, hey, I can do a depth jump from 7 feet. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm good. That's like part of normal training, but their training, I believe they can do it based off what I've seen with their training.
What I'm considering to it also, because I know that one of the pinnacles of at least sprint training in Japan is maintaining low body weight.
Yeah.
So this could be also the case. It'll be different if you throw 200 pounds muscular guy to make him 7-8 feet drop jumps versus 140 pounds skinny Japanese sprinter. And when you look at the body type of the Japanese sprinters, they are very slim. Mm-hmm. I think the slimmest in the arena when they're on the finals. That's also maybe the case, maybe not.
Yeah. There's that one sprinter, Japanese sprinter. I want to say he's like a 10:00 guy or somewhere in that world, and his start is like the most unique. Like his back is totally hunched over, just comes out just straight spinning. But I think people would say, "Oh, how could you get away with that? Or is that the best?" It's like I don't know. That guy probably weighs. I don't know what his height and weight is, but I'm sure his body mass index is extremely low and his reactivity is extremely high. So it's probably about the only body type you could have that could get away with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, and he last season he was also pretty fast over 60 meters, so that's also interesting. Being that lightweight skinny, so he was like 650, so it's pretty good result for the Japanese guy.
Yeah, it's really amazing. It almost seeing things like that almost makes me know, even though like that start, if I was to get in the blocks and sprint, that would not be the best start for me, but it'd be fun just to try it, just to be like, what's this guy's body going through? How is he solving this problem? I just think sometimes we don't try that enough. It's fun to just do different techniques sometimes, just for the fun of it, just for the exploration, to see how someone's body.
Absolutely, yes.
So I did want to, one of the last topics I wanted to get onto here, I know you've evolved this system. It's been something you've had a lot of experience with, is the run specific isometrics. So like the maximal, get in a semi-sprint or sprint position and press into a bar loaded as isometrically as hard as you can, measure it. I think you're even using like the scale you were using was really interesting when you mentioned, like, it was like I don't know, it's a fishing scale. I don't know what you were using.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear more about that and how it evolved for you.
That was at some point, yes. Yeah, I evolved like into really more advanced, dynamometers, really like high end stuff. But the run specific isometrics, we have to give credits to Alex Natera, who at some point was important influencer and like a direct support to me. Like it was, I can even say that my elite hurdler back then, 2018, 2019. That was, I think, Alex could maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that she was the first like really elite level athlete who really went deeply into exploring that Alex approach, his run specific isos back then, and I was in a direct contact with him. I consulted and definitely. It was a big hand. He was a big hand for me back then. Even we ended up like Doha. This is the Aspire Academy where he spent years training and coaching, and we were done. So until now, even now, 2024, in Alex, when he runs his clinics on run specific isometric all over the world, at least he had like a huge tour across Europe this spring. So he still presents my athlete, of course, we agreed on that. He presents my athlete, this female hurdler training from like 2019. And it was very successful for me. But at some point, I started looking into limitations that of course, the tendons and the all those benefits from those shorter and longer isos, types of isos. We don't need to explore that because it's like wide known nowadays. I'd rather tell about the limitations that I started finding in the system itself as a whole, and of course that's the Adarian bar who changed my mind into levers and angular momentum. So at some point I get into a conclusion that it's the run specific isometrics, it's so much built around pushing against object, even though the benefits for the tissues, for sure, they are there, and I'm 100% convinced that the system is able to support and help in the training of running community. I wouldn't say that much in elite sprinting community, but definitely for running community, that's a great thing. For many SNC coaches, I advise to follow Alex ideas because they were great. They are groundbreaking. But the elite level sprinting, I found that there's too much focusing, even the athlete's mind, around pushing against object. And at some point I said, sprinting is not about pushing. It's the angular momentum and the pull that follows, kind of thing. That was something that I kind of started looking into. So another thing that another limitation that I found and moved away from the system itself was that I wasn't able to explore the levers. So I said I cannot really train the athlete and to make him stronger and maintaining the body position that maintain the particular level function at the particular point of time, because it's changing dynamically. So I cannot really train the levers. I cannot really train the pulling kind of thing. And the further you look into, the only action that the muscle is able to create is a pulling force. So even when you push an object, the only direction of the force that your muscle, any muscle through your body, is able to create through contraction is pulling. So of course, when you look through the whole system, and when you look through the tensegrity, it's not a concept. If you look through just the tensegrity reality, because it's not just an idea. So we are like the combination of muscles that pull and the strings that transfer the forces. But the only direction that the muscle is being created is like the pulling inside. From attachment to that attachment is pulling. So even when you push something, your muscles are pulling inside. And the outcome, of course, you push the car, or you push the bar on anything, but the muscles only pull inside. So that was another reason for me. I didn't want to program even at the the mental level. I didn't want to lock my athletes into pushing motion. So that was one of the things, one of the reasons I started to explore this a little bit further, and I kind of built my current version of the training system that I evolved into, kind of thing. So, but still, Alex helped me a lot, like 2018, like 6-7 years ago. And I still recommend this training as maybe introduction into isometric training within a running community. So this can help a lot. Yeah. So that would be the limitation that I found in the too much pushing and the not having a chance to really work through levers I want to work.
Yeah, you said you had started with the fishing scale, and I was jealous even when you told me that. That was, I don't know how long ago that was. Because the only thing I was able to do was just like a functional, I think it was like a Christian Thibodeau inspired adaptation. Maybe Alex mentioned this as well, where you just load a bar up to 99% and lift it off an inch, and do, it's just a lot of plates on and off and trying to get the rack in the right place. But you could do it. And I finally got, these force meters are so much more common now. I got it's a climbing company called Tendons, and it's for finger strength, but it's a 500 kilogram little thing, and I hook it up to the K-box and my harness, and it's like I can do this now. I found the tendon benefits, like Achilles, any sort of Achilles issues, has been really good as well. So it's even outside of the idea with the pushing. So
absolutely, and I think that the in the even Alex approach, this can be like a huge potential in more rehab.
Yeah.
Also approach, definitely. Like over the summer. One of like I mentioned, my athletes need like a long 2-3 months, like a pure vacation. I only don't want them drink too much, eat too much, just staying healthy, generally healthy. And the one thing that this is also the moment where a combination of pure combination of Alex system combined with the kit bar approach, where you're pressing the point of muscle relaxation. So over the 3 months, all of my athletes needs to really stay in the maintaining healthy tendons, working through like a 30 seconds plus isometric. And for that reason, Alex approach would be perfect. But I'm not training, the sprinting skills. I'm only maintaining the health of their Achilles tendons, of course, with the gelatin and vitamin C supplementation. Again, kit bar I haven't mentioned. Him, I never had a chance to meet him, even though I wasn't when I was visiting Edarian in Woodland still. So it was really close to University of Davis. He was still back then, but his work is important. So my summer training is a combination of kit bar approach delivered through Alex Natera run specific isometrics, just purely for tendon health. Yeah. Sorry. Because, when we're working on the purely speed, it's always not enough time for everything. So I'd rather do like a 3 months of, Achilles spa over the summer.
Yeah. So, just a couple. One thing, and then a question is, you mentioned. I really love how you put together the pulling and the tensegrity. The thing that always makes me laugh is David Weck, when he was on the show like 300 episodes ago, he had said like, I don't like the word push. It's too slow. It's like pull is much faster, and it's just like But if you think of it, from that tensegrity, you're just pulling on the tensegrity system. It makes a lot of sense. And my perception, and next time Darian's on the show or I talk to him, I'll have to ask him like his clarification on this. But my perception of how he approaches movement is it's like a sensation and isometrics in the foot or wherever you need to feel an isometric in a semi-squatted position with a pulling. It's like they'll find the isos, you're in a squatted enough position to leverage strength, and then add a pull onto things or add a fall. A fall is kind of a pull. Yeah. So it's and the
you're being pulled by the Mother Earth.
Yes, you are, exactly. And even the squatty run, that's another thing too. Is I always try to find ways to think, how do you communicate that this isn't like more belabored sprinting? I mean, I guess you could say in a way, I ran a squatty 400 at the end of one of Darian's practices, and that was belabored sprinting. I would not advise running a 400 like that. But the thing is,
that's crazy. That's crazy. We tried. Yeah. I tried with my guys. You always my example. I always explain to my guys, hey, I know a dude who did it over 400 meters. So just you're lucky that I only want you to do it over 40 meters, not 400. But you're always my example.
I'll video myself doing it. That'll be maybe a viral video. I don't know. But I feel like what makes the squatty run work with the timing is that it feels more like a pull than a push. When it feels like a pull, it's not like muscular overload. You're using all the muscular and the connective tissues in tandem, and it's like you're pulling yourself forward, and the levers are what give you the platform because you have a sharper lever angle in the back to platform.
Yes, and imagine that I also apply like a light sled towards the squatted run. Then the sensation of pulling is even increased because of a really lightweight. It's got, because the motion's got nothing to do with the clearing blocks with heavy resistance being pulled. But when I apply like really light sled for the squatted runs, then the athlete can really explore what the pulling is about in motion.
Yeah, that's just the trick. It's how to create an environment where athletes can feel themselves pulling themselves forward. Versus, it seems like 99% of the cues is something to do with pushing or hitting the ground or hit the ground harder or teach you how to apply force, which has nothing to do with the body's tensegrity system allowing itself to pull itself forward. So
push your hips away from the ground by being high hips and things like that. It's the opposite that the body wants to do.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So with do you do in place then of like, so run specific for tendon health, and then you mentioned extreme isos as well. So does the oscillatory work kind of take the place of where that might be? Again, like you said, you can only have so many things in the program. Is it more the oscillatory stuff?
It's kind of, I just build like because there's still the isos. Various type of ISO is like a pinnacle of my strength training. So I had to build like the way how to incorporate the pulling, but it's not easy to do when you push against the bar that has been either blocked under the hooks or there's a weight that you cannot really lift. So I think we can explore this. Maybe there'll be a chance to sit again, because I believe there's still so many topics we can explore, and I enjoy the conversation. So maybe in a couple months' time or so, we can divide the whole session into getting into the. It's not even evolution of Alex's system, because Alex's system is Alex's system. Yeah. So, but I can then talk about the my system that was strongly inspired by great work of Alex Natera.
Yeah. Maybe it was framing it up. How have you evolved? Is probably a different way to frame that, because like you said, it is his system, and it's even just getting onto being able to actually see the meter of the force on. I'm just like a kid in a candy shop because I've just gotten started with this and the tendon health and even the readiness, using it as a readiness metric.
Yep.
It's been really interesting for me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Peter, awesome talking to you. Love the conversation and so many good things for both conversation and then things to think about with training down the road. So I really appreciate your time on the show. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next week.